This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
Hey, it's time for episode number 211 of World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. I am your host, Carl Gruber. Now, if you're seeking your higher self and trying to see, feel, and hear beyond all the junk and distractions our world throws at us, then you are in the right place. We seek the answer to the question, why now more than ever are the people of the world awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening? So welcome to the show. And by the way, not only can you listen to the show on just about any and every online audio-only outlet, you can watch it on YouTube. And now you can also watch this show on the brand new TV network, New Reality TV. Just scan the QR code you now see on the screen or click the link listed below in the show notes. All right, let's head off to meet our guest today. And our guest is Baba Sam Shelly. And his life journey is a testament to resilience, earning him the name The Miracle Man. He faced significant challenges during his life, starting with a severe accident at the age of 6 and going through school with undiagnosed bipolar disorder. Later, he lost the ability to walk due to multiple sclerosis and dealt with migraines, psoriasis, and psoriatic arthritis. Jeez, that's crazy. Despite 4 decades of illness and disability, he ultimately achieved spiritual realization and restored his own health. Meditation provided a pivotal and profound self-discovery when he realized he was not his thoughts or identity. He then inquired, "Who am I?" and heard a voice reminding him of his divine essence, that is, perfect spirit. The epiphany transformed his life and became the cornerstone of his mission to aid others and teach them that miracles are not extraordinary occurrences, but natural and everyday unfolding events, which I love because we know there is no order of difficulty in miracles. Baba Sam is the author of the book I Don't Dwell and is the host of the popular podcast Beyond Head Trash, which is also the name of his website. All very cool, and I am so fascinated in you, Baba Sam. Thank you. Do you prefer being called Baba Sam, or can I just call you Sam?
Whatever you feel comfortable with, Carl. It's a real pleasure to be here today.
All right, very cool. My gosh, your story just blows my mind. I mean, it's amazing, and you know, let's go. The incredible story of you having lived a long time with debilitating health issues and injuries, and going on to release and heal yourself from all of it. I suppose the best way to go back to the beginning of your life's journey so people can understand how you now came to be a full-time spiritual teacher, coach, and healer.
Yeah, so when I look back at my life, it really seems surreal. It seems like I lived 2 different lives, one filled with pain and suffering and one free. And that's what we really want to do with that spiritual awakening, is to liberate ourselves, to be free from all this heaviness that we experience in our world. So yeah, it all began for me at age 6 when I was hit by a van and nearly died from that. But they've shown, that from that injury, I was in the hospital for a long time with brain injuries, hip injuries, elbow injuries, nearly bled out. A lot of difficulties in there. And they now know today that kids that experience early age head trauma are more likely to be bipolar. They see that correlation today. So that's where that came from. The bipolar was the correlation from the accident. But they didn't know that, so they pretty much, that wasn't treated. It was like, all right, he's just a weird, moody kid, that's all. But really strange issues, when I would act up in high school, They would get sent to the principal's office. They'd usually just ask me if I was smoking weed. I said no, and they'd send me back to class. That was my help. That was about it. There was no help coming for me in my teenage years. Just a lot of suffering and no help.
Wow. And so I read that you got hit by a van when you were 6 years old, which is weird because I got hit by a car when I was six too, but I must have had a hard head because I just got knocked out and bruised up.
Yeah, I nearly bled out from that accident. What do you remember? That was the last day of first grade. I went back to school for the fourth grade.
Tell us more. I mean, so this is when you're a youngster, but then you become an adult and all these other maladies hit you. If you could give us a gist of that.
Yeah, so as like I said, as an undiagnosed bipolar going through school, early adulthood. Then I became suicidal in my 20s. So I got some help at that point. But at that point, they just diagnosed me as depressive, and they give me some medicines that you don't give to a bipolar because they'll flip you into mania. So it was a real adventure with that. Then as a bipolar, I nearly killed myself twice because I was taking these negative thoughts, this head trash as my truth. So it was creating a lot of problems. So it was just really just to, that's where I was going with this. So I had all this head trash, all these negative thoughts. I nearly killed myself twice because of that. But then I had all these autoimmune diseases coming up, like psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, then eventually multiple sclerosis. But I'm seeing people with these autoimmune diseases always have an element of self-judgment, self-criticism. So the body starts to attack itself as we get these autoimmune diseases. So I really just had all these issues and all these problems. And there was really no help coming from me because all I knew was doctors and medicine, doctors and medicine. And doctors and medicines don't create cures. They treat symptoms and usually keep things the same. So, it was my world, and I had no concept of the spiritual realms. It really wasn't part of my reality because when I was bipolar in my 20s, in the hospital, because I just tried to kill myself, I remember my evangelical uncle coming into that room, a pastor, but evangelical, was coming to my room trying to cast a demon from my head. So that sort of pushed me away from the religion spirituality was like, I'm not possessed. I don't have demons in my head, but I didn't know how to describe it. And even my psychiatrist wasn't awakened either. So he didn't ask me that question, why are your thoughts true? Because he too was identified with his thoughts. So he didn't have that separation from his thoughts to who he really was. And that's where it really shifted for me was, seeing that I had these thoughts, but I wasn't that thought, but I had no concept of that time. So from age 6 to age 44, I was just in pain, suffering, taking 13 medications, needed a cane, a cooling vest. I just had all these issues. And I just figured this is my lot in life. This is what I'm stuck with. And just seeing the six doctors, the 13 medications, my cooling vest, the cane, it's just this miserable life. I thought that's what I was going to be living, a miserable life. Like a lot of people are living today. It's just a miserable life. So we need to really increase this worldwide awakening to let go of all this pain, all this suffering, because it doesn't need to stick forever. It may, but it doesn't need to.
Age 6 to 44 was you dealt with all of that. You were, from what I read, I've been reading some of your book. I don't dwell. I mean, you were like a walking pharmacy with all the medicines you were taking.
Yeah, 13 medications because I had six doctors. I had all these issues. So medicines so I didn't kill myself, medicines to function from MS, medications for migraines, medicines for the psoriatic arthritis, the creams for the psoriasis. It was very expensive being sick.
So it's interesting. What was finally the turning point? I mean, after all of that, I'm amazed that you didn't kill yourself. You couldn't see any way out, and you have this head trash going on constantly. And what was the turning point? How did you find your way out of there?
Uh, the way I found my way out was dealing with multiple sclerosis. You have a lot of fatigue. It's a very draining type of disease. So at the end of the day, I was the couch potato. I would sit in front of the TV and watch basically anything on TV. And I used to watch ghost hunting shows, but I didn't know if they were real or fake. It's TV. So I saw a tweet from a ghost hunter and felt like, hey, I can go to this event. We can see if these ghosts are real. So before, like I was ready, pretty much staying away from the spiritual realms and religion, but just being a couch potato and being curious, watching ghost hunting shows. But it's TV. I didn't know if it was real or fake. Go on one. Let's have that experience. So I went on this ghost hunt. So I had my cooling vest because with MS, you're very heat sensitive. So anything above 70 degrees, my body would start to shut down. I had my cane. So I went into this ghost hunt in Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia. I went to the area called the Casemate. So I did my research before I went there because I knew I had a very short window to be there. August, cooling vest, maybe an hour, 75 minutes. That's all I could really last with that. So I was sitting in the casemates. It was pretty boring for most of it. But then I was just sitting on this bench, just sitting on a bench, just looking around. It was kind of boring. It was dark. Not much was really happening. Then I'm just sitting on the bench and just somebody sat right next to me. It's like, okay, there's no one here, but there's somebody sitting right next to me. It's like you're sitting on a bench. You know when somebody's sitting next to you, feel like, okay, somebody sat next to me. And then when they sat next to me, I just felt this overwhelming sense of dread come over me. Like, wow, that's interesting. So ghosts are real. So then I had a few small little experiences at this event, but nothing really that big as sitting next to me. But I was curious. Okay, so ghosts are real. Well, who talks to ghosts? Oh, medium. Let me go read a book from a medium because they talk about this stuff. Let me go learn more about this ghost world. So I start to read a book from a medium, but they were always, so just reading this book from a medium. Then eventually they talked about meditation. And in meditation, they describe the benefits of meditation. And one of the benefits of meditation was inner peace. I'm like, that's it. I need to meditate because I need some inner peace. I was so stressed out, so overwhelmed with life. I remember every day I was waking up like, what else is going to go wrong today? Because that was my reality. Everything was going wrong. And of course, if you're in a mindset, what's going to go wrong today, you're just inviting more problems. But I wasn't aware of that I was adding to the head crash. So I'm sitting there, okay, so I need to meditate for inner peace. But this is really just a page and a half on meditation. It wasn't much, which I was so thankful for because it told my bipolar OCD brain the rules of meditation. I'd be like, oh, am I sitting right? Am I breathing right? Is my posture right? I've been going through the laundry list of meditation as opposed to doing meditation. Being OCD, been a big problem. It gave me this directions. They basically said in the book, find a comfortable spot and relax. That was basically their instructions. There was no hand postures or anything like that. Sit quietly and relax. For some reason, I got the impression that meditation means you stop thinking. So what happens when I sit down in meditation? The mind starts thinking. So it's like, stop thinking, mind thinking, stop thinking, mind thinking, stop thinking. So after 3, 4 days of this, I'm like, wait a second, wait a second. If I'm aware of my thoughts, I'm not my thought. This was a huge realization for me to see that I have thoughts, but I'm not my thought. Because we have to remember in the 20s, I took my thoughts as truth and nearly killed myself twice because of that. So for me to have separation now, like, wait a second, I'm not my thoughts. So my next question was, well, if I'm not my thought, who am I? So now I was sitting with the question, who am I? So my initial meditation practice was 5 minutes a day. That's all I was sitting with, relaxing for 5 minutes. And now my practice changed a little bit. So now when I realized I had thoughts, but it wasn't my thought. So when the mind started thinking, I wouldn't say stop thinking. I would come back to feeling my feet on the floor. So mind thinking, come back to my feet. Mind thinking, come back to my feet. So it was actually learning to be present. I didn't know that's what I was doing at that time, learning to be present. But I was sitting with that question. Okay, well, who am I? So after about 2, 3 weeks of sitting with this question, coming out of meditation in the evening, I just hear a voice say perfect spirit. I'm like, that's it. My spirit is perfect. I'm not this damaged body and mind. Then the best way I can describe it, I just felt this great sense of peace come over me. Then I just knew all is well. And I just knew all my health challenges were over. I just knew after that day, it was done, it was over. So then I just was following those insights on recovering the body. But before that, I had no concept that I could be healed. Because I lived with it for so long. So I was never trying to heal myself. It was an impossible task for the mind. It's like if you have multiple sclerosis, oh, hey, mind, go cure multiple sclerosis. It has no idea. Oh, go, hey, mind, go heal migraines. I'm tired of that. The mind has no clue. It can guess. Oh, we can try this, we can try this, but it doesn't really know. It guesses. The mind guesses. So I was never trying to heal. I just followed my own insight. But over that day, I was getting better and better after each day of that. So just following my insight. So that night I began to taper my medicines, which I don't recommend to everyone, but I just knew I just needed to start to taper off my medicine. So I did that. Then shortly after hearing that, I heard the voice or knowing I'm not quite sure what I did at that point, that it was time to do yoga. So the next day after getting that insight, I signed up for the monthly unlimited class at the yoga studio. My mind was in complete protest. You have no balance. You have no flexibility. Who are you to do yoga? I ignored that voice and I just did yoga. Then what happened with yoga? No more heat intolerance, no more cane after 6 months. The body was coming back online. And every day as I was tapering off this medicine, I was feeling better and better and better. So each day over the next 14 months, as we're going through this recovery process, I was feeling better and better. But I knew in that day that it was all over. As you mentioned, you had the book back there, A Course in Miracles. I love my favorite quote in there is that there's no degree of difficulties with miracles.
Right, right.
That is my favorite quote because it doesn't matter like all these health ailments, all these challenges, there's no degree of miracles. They can happen instantly if you just relax and just trust that divinity within you.
Yeah, there is no order of difficulty in miracles, and even in my intro for you, you mentioned that miracles are natural, and that is a statement in A Course in Miracles. But I would like to go back for a moment. You mentioned that when you started meditating, you realized that you were aware of your thoughts, which made you realize that you weren't your thoughts. I mean, if we explain that more, is that because you realized that you were an observer on a different plane looking down and seeing objectively?
Yeah, it's just I just had that separation that if I'm aware of my thoughts, I'm not my thoughts. I just had that realization, but I didn't know I was spirit at that point. I just realized I wasn't my thoughts. So I was sitting with that question, well, if I'm not my thought, well, then who am I? So it was sitting that at that point, I didn't realize I was spirit, soul, whatever you wish to call it. I just knew I wasn't my thoughts.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I really like that quite a bit. We're going to talk more about that, but I hope you don't mind. This is kind of a personal question, but what I read from your book, I Don't Dwell, and I've read about half of it so far. I'm going to keep doing that. You were married the entire time of as you're on your healthy journey in life, but you're not so healthy either. You don't really talk about her. She must be a special woman to deal with all that you were dealing with physically and mentally.
Yeah, so yeah, shortly after the book, we left. The marriage ended because she was very unhealthy herself. So we
Oh,
were both commiserating with each other. So we were both feeding off of each other, you could say, keeping each other sick.
oh, wow, wow.
So after that, she was still in this victim mentality, and I was liberated. I was free.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, I could see. Well, and I hope you don't mind me asking about that. I was just really curious about that.
Yeah, so I didn't talk about it in the book because we're just completely different planes.
So, after years and years and years of seeking relief via traditional medical treatments, which didn't work and never worked, meditation turned out to be your path to peace and perfect health. And I really, doing what I do, being the host of this show, I'm just kind of a a meditation person. And I noticed your book has some instructions, and I think I'm going to give it a try to quiet that monkey mind, that brain trash.
Yeah, so we have to understand that we're either present or we're in the mind. We can't be in both places. So I wasn't even realizing it when the mind started to think of like come back to my feet. Mind thinking, come back to my feet, back to my feet, back to my feet. I was learning the power of now, power of being present.
Mm.
So that's what I see now, that we're either in the mind distracted or we're fully here, realize we're sitting, our feet are on the floor, we're listening. We are the one that sees through the eye. We are that essence.
Yeah, boy, I strive to achieve that, and I'm not giving up because, gosh, if you can do it, man, I think anyone can do it.
Yeah, what I typically do for people that want to deepen their spiritual practice, I see what they're doing. Then I have them stop everything. We get it back down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever it may be. How long can you stay present?
Yeah.
There's no need to sit in meditation for 10 minutes if you're not staying present. You're just entertaining the head trash.
I'm curious, has anybody ever said to you or compared you to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who healed himself from a broken back and being a quadriplegic?
Yeah, I hear it quite a bit I hear comparisons to Dr. Joe quite a bit, but there's some big differences that I really don't like to engage the mind. I really want to step out of the mind to this deeper essence. So there's similarities there. And I see, the process Dr. Joe used isn't really what he's teaching today. He teaches it a little bit, but he has these other practices as well. And I do that as well. I expand it a little bit, but I'm still about returning you back to you because you inhabit this body. You know what's best for you, but not a mental knowing, this deeper knowing that comes from this deeper place that knows exactly what you need in this moment. Like I said, you'll get these insights, and to understand that intuition is both internal and external, that the universe is going to give you that information. And if you're not open to receive it internally, then it will come externally to suddenly find that book, that video, that person that's giving you that answer that you're seeking.
Wow, I think what you just said has got to be encouraging to so many people. And unfortunately, I believe there's way far more people than we realize who are suffering in a life just like you did.
Hmm.
Only they can't see a way out at the moment.
Right, because we have to realize our diagnosis is not destiny. For me, my diagnosis was my destiny. I'm incurable. I'm stuck with this forever. But to realize destiny is not locked in. It's fluid of our actions and our attitude in this moment. We just have to understand this to come back into this moment. And well, I do hear this a lot from people that I'm sitting quietly, I've been practicing for years. I can be really still and no information comes. I'm like, then it's coming externally for you. You're getting an inkling to do something because you're not open to receive it. Otherwise, you don't trust yourself. So it's coming to you another way. You're probably getting an inkling to go talk to someone, go read a book, go watch the video. It's coming to you in some way, and you're just not noticing it because you're so focused on getting it from within. But they know, the spirit within you knows that if you get the answer, you're not going to trust yourself because 90% of the people don't trust themselves. So the insight's going to come, and your mind's going to come along and hijack it. It's going to come from a different source.
Boy, that is a real good point because I could see sitting there, and I've probably done this myself, sitting there, meditating. Well, nothing's happening. This doesn't work. And you're exactly right. Yeah, the answer may be coming from an external source rather than right there.
Because you don't trust yourself. So the spirit is giving you the information that be more open to receive. Oh, Dr. Joe said it. Baba Sam said this. Some other person said it. So you can tap into it. It resonates with you. But if it came from you directly, be like, that can't be it. Your mind's saying, you're crazy. That's not your answer. But you hear from someone else and it resonates like, that's my answer.
Yeah, yeah, really, really interesting stuff. So, Baba Sam, what is the ego? Why is it so darn persistent in keeping our thinking in such a negative, disempowering, dark place?
Well, as Eckhart Tolle mentions, it calls the egos like the pain body. It's this energetic body that we have that's attached to the negativity, the traumas, the difficulties of life. It's really like this energetic body, like we are the light itself. We can think of the ego, the pain body as the darkness. It's almost like the yin yang symbol. We have the white and the dark. And we're usually the dark is so large, so we got to amplify the light to drown out the dark. So it's just simply like that, the yin yang, that the darkness is the mind, the pain body, and we are the light itself. And it's finding that balance to bring in more light to dissolve that darkness.
Very good insight. Very good insight. As a matter of fact, on your website, you have a great quote from Eckhart Tolle: "The remnants of pain left behind by every strong negative emotion that is not fully faced, accepted, and then let go of joined together to form an energy field that lives in the very cells of your body. The energy field of old but still very much alive emotion that lives in practically every human being is the pain body." That is so weird to think that we have a pain body.
Yeah, we did. And that's why I had a graphic on my website where you can actually see in the graphic, when we're in the far left, we're just completely dark, we're completely consumed by that pain body. What we're trying to do with like the vibrant soul society, the inner healer school, is bring in more and more light. So we balance that white, the light and the darkness, so we can find that balance, because the pain body is always going to be there to some degree. Like the yin yang symbol is always going to be an element, but for many people, they're 90% darkness and 10% light. Why not get the 90%, flip it around to 90% light and 10% dark? Because we realized we were in this human body. We can look at all the crime and drama around us. The mind's going to get hooked onto a story, and occasionally. So I don't think there's anybody that's living a pure consciousness to live as 100% light, because we are in this human body and there is some challenges, there is some difficulties. The mind's going to misbehave on occasion, or a lot of occasion.
Yeah. Well, and throughout human history as we know it, there's a couple enlightened beings, Jesus and Buddha, etc. Lao Tzu. Pretty amazing. Well, if we talk about the pain body, then we must talk about the energy body too. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that we are the light, that we are. If you don't understand that you are the light, you have to realize you're no longer wearing the toddler body. You're no longer wearing a teenager body. You're no longer wearing a young adult body. You have all these changing bodies, but the one who sees the eyes has never changed. That is who we are. That is our aliveness, our beingness, our essence. That is who we are. But we get so attached to that I am this body, I am these thoughts. But we're actually the energy that animates the body. We are that spirit, the soul, whatever you wish to call it. We are that the aliveness, the pureness there. And that is the real you. And this is connected to all that is. So all the answers are there. And it may come outside of you. That's where you're most open to receive it. But to realize there's no mistake. Every experience is helping you remember who you are. And if you're not getting the message, just reminding you just to slow down, to pause, to learn to respond as opposed to reacting. So just to understand that we are the aliveness, that we don't need to get hung up in all the energy, all the chakras. So I had none of this. Through my healing recovery, my spiritual instruction was a page and a half, and everything else came from within. At that point, I wasn't reading spiritual books. I wasn't watching videos. It wasn't until after my healing journey was over that I picked up a book from Adyashanti, The End of Your World. And it talked about everything that I went through to a T. It was really the end of my world, my end of my world of suffering. It was for that 14 months, my spiritual teacher was myself, because I'm connected to all that is. I didn't have any of this spiritual dogma or knowledge, because it can become a problematic or a limitation. Oh, this chakra is blocked, this chakra is blocked, and all these stories. And do you really need to know that? Because trust what arises within you.
Yeah. So in that case, your external, the book was at an external event or thing that helped you to awaken to the light too.
Right, was going that ghost hunt, being open to go on a ghost hunt to see if it is real or not, then being curious about it. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of people could have that experience like, oh, that was fun. Ghost hunt was a lot of fun, and just see it as entertainment and let it be. But I was curious and I'm like, oh, ghosts are real. Let me go learn more about ghosts.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's, yeah, whatever works for the individual. I'm curious. You're called Baba Sam Shelly. How did you end up with that title, Baba?
It just came from spirit. I just heard it one day, just call myself Baba. Just call myself Baba basically means it's the male energy of the spiritual realms. This means that you know who you are outside of the thought and body. A Baba is basically a spiritual teacher.
Hmm.
And in India, that'll be a Baba, be a male spiritual teacher. Ma will be the female spiritual teacher. It's just somebody that knows who they are beyond the mind and body and just embodies those teachings.
So, where you are at now as a spiritual teacher, what about people you've known since you're early in your life? I mean, can you even relate to them, or family members? Do they say, we don't know who you are?
Yeah, my cousins, because most of my aunts and uncles have passed, but my cousins are usually puzzled, and that's what was the catalyst for writing my first book. Everybody was constantly asking me, "Well, what did you do? What did you do?" So I wrote that first book. Well, basically, I stopped dwelling in thoughts. I was constantly dwelling in thoughts when as Dr. Gabor Mate said, when I talked to him about my story, he said, "Oh, you stopped taking your mind as a source of truth." So that's what I did. I stopped taking my mind as a source of truth. I stopped dwelling in thoughts. All I did was sit there and ruminate on thoughts about how bad life was and how difficult it would be. Like right now, it's very hot in New York City. So I might be in the stories right now because if there's anything above 90 degrees outside, I didn't go outside with MS. I was a hermit during the summertime because even above anything with 70 degrees, I would start to have issues and need the cooling vest. If I went outside when it was 90, even with the cooling vest on, I would get an instant migraine. Stick my head out in that heat, instant migraine. So I couldn't tolerate heat at all. So it was really just a matter of just slowing down and stop taking those thoughts as truth. And so that's why I really help people to see that a diagnosis is just information. It doesn't have any bearing on your destiny unless you give it power to do so.
I'm really glad you said that about diagnosis. I think a couple years ago I was reading a book by Dr. Sue Morter, and she talks about diagnosis that, if you dwell on it, then the universe is going to send more of that to you. So I'm sure you studied everything about MS, and the universe said, well, here's more of MS for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was reading everything I could about MS, bipolar, psoriasis, arthritis, OCD. The list goes on and on and on. And reading everything about my medicine and reading all this stuff was make my pain body stronger. And all this information stronger was keeping it ingrained. So after 38 years, well, yeah, 38 years, I had these beliefs that I'm incurable, that I can't be fixed. I'm destined for a nursing home because my health was in really bad decline, that I would be in a nursing home because at that point in my life, walking was becoming very, very difficult with the spasticity in my leg is it was getting really, really bad. So it was really starting to become hard to function. It was the right point and pivot point because once you get into the wheelchair, it's very hard to pull yourself out of that. You get the atrophy of the muscles and all that. So I had a wheelchair around, but I didn't need it. I had my walker around too, but most of the time I get around with a cane. So, I mean, that was my reality. You have a cane, there's a story attached with the cane. There's a story attached with MS. People open doors for you. So you have this expectation that people treat you differently. So you get really locked into the diagnosis that, oh, I am bipolar, I have MS, I'm not supposed to be reliable, I'm not supposed to be dependable. So people have no expectations of you. You get into yourself really into this disabled mindset and you get ingrained into that. So it's really damaging. The head trash can be really damaging.
Since you have actually cured yourself of MS, isn't MS supposed to be incurable? And if that's the case, when you encounter MS patients that come to you, you must give them incredible hope. Have you seen any of your patients cure themselves with that?
Most people that I talk about my story, if they have MS, they'll typically say, I can never do that and walk away.
Ooh.
Usually But then it was really interesting, though. There are a handful of people out there that have walked away from MS. I was recently reading a book from Bob Proctor. He was talking about his aunt with MS and all these difficulties. He was sitting with her once a week and having her listen to Earl Nightingale
Mhm.
every day. Within a few years, her MS was gone. With him coaching her and her doing the Nightingale practices, within a few years, her MS was gone. And she even forgot about it. She was doing her like normal gardening, normal functioning. And then eventually when she back to the doctor, she's like, you don't have MS. I don't know. You're fine now.
I love Bob Proctor, yeah, and Earl Nightingale. That goes back to my beginnings of my studies of
It,
this.
it was really weird. I never heard Bob Proctor talk about that until he wrote that in the book. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I never heard that story.
Well, if you're a viewer or listener who has MS, multiple sclerosis, hey, there's hope, and the hope lies within you.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I've been working with a lot of Parkinson's patients lately, and that's also a really debilitating disease. And when I get them into the space of into their heart, their soul, their spirit, their essence, I'll ask them a question. Has your spirit ever told you that you're incurable? And the answer is always no. Because incurable doesn't come from spirit, the soul, the creator, the infinite. It doesn't exist. Because you are that energy that has created this body, this planet, this galaxy, the sun. So there's nothing impossible. It's just like, are you willing to trust yourself and do the steps that are necessary? And and that's really that simple. My practice was very, very simple. Was I was sitting for 5 minutes a day, then eventually sitting 5 minutes twice a day. Today, I still don't sit for a lot of time. My daily practice is about 10 minutes of just being present. Then realize I'm here in body. I'm here to have the human experience. Sure, I can sit all day and be content with that, but I'm incarnated in this body right now. Let's go enjoy life. Let's go have fun. So that's what I see now, that we're here to enjoy life, to celebrate life, not be shackled down by this pain body, and we can dissolve this pain body. I can't say for certain if your disease will 100% go away, but I know within you, your spirit is encouraging you to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. And if you keep doing those steps from spirit, I suspect you can really turn most things around, if not all things, if you have that implicit trust within yourself. That's what is really unusual. I hear from individuals is that I had this implicit trust. Whatever I had that impulse to do, I would do. I didn't doubt it. Well, if I would doubt it for a second, like, all is well, we'll go do this. All is well, we'll go do this. All is well, we'll go do this. I just had this implicit trust. And when the mind would throw up doubts, I just would come back to that sensation that all is well, keep following, keep listening. It's like hearing that voice saying, do yoga. My mind was in complete protest that you can't do yoga. Next day, I signed up for the unlimited card at the yoga studio. Well, first I asked, like, where's my yoga studio? And I was still working in corporate at that time. And I was driving to work and I just heard your yoga studio's there. There. I just heard like something like there. And there's a yoga studio there. Next day, signed up for the monthly unlimited. I didn't know the teachers or anything. We just sign up and we'll go do that. And just trust. It's just an implicit trust.
Wow, that makes me want to go sign up for yoga now. Last time I tried, I almost fell over because I didn't have the balance. But yeah, you got
Hey,
to be persistent and resilient, right?
yeah, like I said, when I signed up for yoga, I didn't have balance. And when I discovered through yoga, if if I was not here in this moment, I would fall over. If I lost presence, I would fall over. If I stayed present, I wouldn't fall over. But after 6 months of yoga, I didn't need the cane anymore. I was no longer heat intolerance. I didn't need my cooling vest anymore. So no cooling vest, no cane, and tapered off quite a bit of medicine after 6 months.
You know, this voice that you heard that says all is well, and you just repeated that over, which is beautiful. Is all is well when you, is it coming from, you say from spirit? I mean, Is that God? What do you? Is it just how would you look at? Does it matter what you consider the spirit to be, except that it's all that is?
Yeah, it's just all is one. That the mind likes the creator God as separate from us, but it's actually, we are that. Even the Bible says we're made in the image and likeness of God. And what is that same thing within all of us? Spirit, soul, consciousness, that which can't be seen. We all have that essence within us that's animating this body. So we are that. So the mind wants all this division and separation, but we're ultimately this one energy. And the way I like to describe it, like we're like all on the earth. We can think of the earth as like the source of consciousness. And we're all our unique flower coming from the earth, from consciousness. But we
Mhm.
all come from that same source, and we're just all individual flowers connected to source. But ultimately, we are one with source.
If we're spiritual beings having a human experience, that means we believe that we are separate from all that is, and so our ego or the head trash or monkey mind is the belief of separation that wants to keep us separated, and that's why it's going blah 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 all the time.
Yeah, it wants to keep this division, but I like to say that we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience within a human body
Mm. Mm.
because we're always spirit, but we forget, we can never disconnect from who we are, that we are spirit. But the mind can create a lot of darkness, creating that sense of separation. So it's really about, once again, dissolving that darkness and amplifying your own light because it's always there, shining bright. I like to say there is no dark night of the soul. It's a dark night of the mind. Your soul is the light itself. It cannot go dark. The mind is sort of like a lampshade over your light. It's creating this darkness over your light. But we start peeling away those layers, those beliefs. That's what I do when I'm working with people who want to deepen their spiritual practice, remove their current practice, and to start seeing where their biases, their shadows, and if they're chronically sick, they have a lot of darkness that we need to peel away and do these practices to help them peel that away to get to see like, why is that true? Why is that true? Why is that true? And it reminds me of a time when I was sitting with someone I was doing in person in Pennsylvania. I had this event and I had to stay with her for an extra 2 hours after the event because her darkness instantly cleared away, which happens well, instantly cleared away. And for the next 2 hours, she's like, I took this as true. I took this as true. I took this as true. She was hysterically laughing. She'd bring up all these stories that she took as their truth and just saw how ludicrous they were and just was laughing at everything. So for 2 hours, I had to help her get it back into her body because just all these stories are just being dissolved and is how to really get her back and ground it and to, having this human experience. But it's really interesting. We get rid of that darkness of what we think is what is possible when we thought was impossible. And it's really just flipping around to like nothing is impossible. May require a lot of steps to turn it around, but we can do that. We just, as Lao Tzu said, journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step. We're just taking these single steps all the time. That's all we're doing is just taking these steps.
Wow, that's amazing. This lady was just releasing it all for 2 hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. My mind is just racing here. I mean, there's just so much going on here. I've had one of the most well-known teachers of A Course in Miracles on the show, Gary Renard, author of The Disappearance of the Universe and a couple other books, and when he was talking about the ego, and he said, well, modern psychology, many of them would say, well, make friends with your ego, and that way you can balance your life. But he made a very explicit point: the ego is not your friend.
Yeah. Your ego is your tool, your aid, your helper. So basically, the ego is typically hijacks our life. But I don't really want to try to kill off the ego because we're getting these divine insights through yoga. If there was no mind, no ego, you can't do yoga. You can't feed yourself. You can't do anything in life without the mind and ego giving you those instructions on how to do something. But usually the ego, the mind, is the master as opposed as your spirit, your soul being the master. So we're not trying to kill off the ego or the mind. We need it to function in this world. And we just want to see that it's a tool, that it's an aid, it's a helper. And I really don't want to judge or criticize anything because that's just more head trash. And we want to quiet the mind down. And so realize we can let go of the term ego and just realize the brain, the mind is here to help you function. But the instructions need to come from a deeper place. And they have actually even shown studies where you're drinking water before the mind tells you need to drink water. The mind is already taking these steps before we're doing it. Like you're drinking water. You had the impulse to drink water before your mind decided to drink water. They have actually proven that in science. So the body's already responding to things, but the minds could get in the way of that. But sometimes we're getting these deeper instructions. And in a way, we have to convince the mind to do that. We're getting instructions to do yoga. The mind will be in protest. We have to push through that.
So now that you're in this place where you are connected to all that is, letting go of the head trash, the monkey mind, are you able to channel higher dimensional beings and angels, etc.? Is that something that you do now?
Yeah, that's how I help people. When I'm working with individuals, I get my mind out of the way, and some people call it channeling. I just let spirit drive and work through me. So when I'm working with an individual, I'm actually merging with them in consciousness. Like I said before, like the earth is like consciousness. We're all different flowers. So when working with an individual, I'm meeting them in spirit, and basically we're looking at their flower and see where their flower needs attention. So if somebody's having pain difficulties, I'll experience that pain and difficulties. And about 80% of the people, I'll feel that, oh, I feel this pain in your low back. I feel this. And I can't really explain it. Like I got all sorts of interesting stories to share on this. Like I was speaking to this Circle of Miracles group, and afterwards, because I was doing it through Zoom because I was doing this remote, this woman was talking about like, well, I'm going to Italy in a few weeks, but I'm having this strange hip pain. My doctors don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay, do you have a few minutes? Can I take a look at this for you? And I worked with her for literally 2 or 3 minutes, and I asked her like, well, how are your hips feeling now? She's like, they feel better. Then I hear afterwards her Italian trip. She's like, I don't know what kind of magic you did, but my hips weren't bothering me in Italy. Because
Well,
there's no degree of difficulties with miracles. There's just none. Because miracles are natural when we get that mind out of the way. And another story with that, working with this thing, one of the things I can do is bring doctors in from the spiritual realms. So I had this lady schedule a session with me. She's an older lady, 60, 70. And she says, I'm scheduled for right knee surgery. I really don't want right knee surgery. It's like, all right, let's see what we can do. So I got this doctor's name, which is unusual for me. I've only gotten the doctor's name twice specifically for an individual. So I got this doctor's name. It's like, do you know this doctor? She's like, oh, that was my childhood doctor. And I was making this joke that once a patient, always a patient. So anyway, we're working on her. And to this day, she still hasn't had right knee surgery. I can't explain it. I can't explain. So that's why I do on my website offer these free mini healing calls. They want people to experience themselves because everything is spirit led. So we really try to ignite your own spirit. I want to give people their own sense of what their spirit feels like. So I'm working with individuals that never experienced themselves. They never experienced the deep peace of spirit. And that's why I tried doing these sessions. And sometimes these sessions, I clear up that issue that they're having. And usually, sometimes I can clear that issue, but the next day the mind will bring it back because the pain body is addicted to pain. But sometimes I can clear it and it's gone, but sometimes it will come back in 24, 48 hours. The mind's like, hey, there's something missing here. Let's drag this back. Because we're so addicted to that because with MS, you're addicted to the stories that people have endorsed for you. There's no expectations. So the mind drives back that. So it wants to keep things familiar. So we just need to keep peeling away the pain body, those levels of difficulties that we have. And it's a practice. So I have a few ways, either through my group or working with people individually, where for over a month or 2 weeks, whatever happens to be, I'm sitting with them every day remotely. And we're meeting on camera once, twice, 3 times a week. And we're just going through this work. Because when I'm sitting remotely, I'm not doing like a heavy lifting because I don't know what they're doing in that moment. I don't want to cause any danger to them. Because I heard from individuals when I'm working on them, they'll see bright white light or something. Or they'll feel people walking around and being touched, poked. I can't explain it.
We are talking to the miracle man, Baba Sam Shelly, who through his own process cured himself from MS and multiple other things. Let me ask you this as we kind of wind down here. Does a person have to have a catastrophe or a catharsis in their life to awaken to their true, higher, healthier self to know that all really is well?
Well, there are some people that need to have an experience to shake them out of their reality. For me, it was a ghost sitting next to me and being curious. Wayne Dyer called these quantum shifts. Like I was in this belief, and a lot of people with MS are in this belief where I can never do that and they walk away. They need to have this quantum shift. And this is what I offer in my calls. Maybe I can give them that quantum shift where they can feel themselves or have an experience that challenges their mind. Maybe I'm working on them, they're dealing with this chronic pain and it goes away. And they're like, how did that happen? And it causes a shift within them. So some people do need to have this quantum shift because I think 90% of the people out there need to have this quantum shift to accept the spiritual realms, that there's something greater than them. Because look at MS, migraines, bipolar, you'll find millions upon millions of articles, videos, stories of that this is incurable. Unless you have that quantum shift, you're not going to be able to step out of that story.
One thing too, and I mentioned this in the intro. The main question of this show is why now are the people of the world awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening? Why do you think this is occurring right now at this time in human history?
Well, there are more people waking up because there's more information out there. There's more stories like myself that our diagnosis is not a permanent reality. Whatever you're going through doesn't have to be your permanent reality. So it doesn't matter if you're dealing with health, relationships, careers, 1,001 things that could apparently be going wrong in the human life. That if you go within, you are the solution. Ultimately, we're constantly seeking outside of ourselves for the answer, forgetting that we are the solution. The you being your spirit, your soul, your consciousness connected to all that is. So we're dealing with relationship issues, career issues, finance issues. The answer is within you. We just got to get that head trash out of the way.
Yeah, Baba Sam Shelly, I think that you are offering hope for so many people who see or hear this and what you do. Your website is braintrash.com, right?
Beyond head trash.
Oh, beyond head trash. I'm sorry. Beyond.
Yep.
I'll put that link in there. Now you do one-on-one coaching, and I saw that you also offer some meditation downloads and other healing downloads. Do you ever do retreats or workshops?
Well, I have my Vibrant Soul Society. So with my Vibrant Soul Society, it's $5 for the first month. What I do in there, I teach 3 classes a week for the Inner Healer School. So I do different time on Tuesday for my European Asian clients. Wednesday, a different time for Europe, Asia, North America, and Thursday. So 3 different days, 3 different times. So every Tuesday at a time, Wednesday at a different time, and Thursday, so I can cover the globe. And then we can do either group coaching, group sessions, focused healing. But then I do also my one-on-one work, the Inner Healer Intensive, where I sit with you every day remotely, and we email each other back and forth every day. Like, I'm experiencing this. Like I'll email somebody like, I'm feeling a lot of head congestion today. What's going on? Like, oh yeah, my allergies are acting up. I can't explain because I'm feeling what they're feeling, and I can experience what I'm experiencing. They can tell me like, this is what I felt today. What's going on with you? What are you experiencing? So that helps me focusing in when we're doing remote healings. Like, okay, we need more intense work on this. When are you sleeping? When can I work on this? Or do we need to go one-on-one so I can do this work? Because you're just the flower that needs attention, coming from the source. We just got to fix the flower, the body. And I can't explain. I just channel this energy, bring in these doctors, your spiritual team, and allow these miracles to happen.
Yeah, really. And check out Baba Sam's website, beyondheadtrash.com. You can download his ebook, I Don't Dwell, which I did, and it's a fascinating read, and I still have more to read on it. Also, your podcast, the same name, Beyond Head Trash, right? That's on YouTube and anywhere else.
Yeah. My podcast is the Vibrant Soul Society, the Conversations, because ultimately we want to see that we are greater than our thoughts, and beyond our thoughts, beyond our head trash, is our vibrant soul. Always illuminating the path, and it's vibrant. It gives us all this energy to live the life that we want to live, to have fun, to enjoy life.
Well, this is just fascinating, beautiful stuff. You are doing some beautiful things for the world and for your brothers and sisters. Baba Sam, thank you, my friend, for being on World Awakenings. Amazing.
Thank you, Carl. I really enjoyed our conversation.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.